guys, welcome to Andrea Loves Everybody. This is a podcast about love and relationships. And today I have with me Milwaukee BFF, Mary Sugiyama.
Hey guys, what's up?
I'm going to start this podcast off. I'm probably not going to even say all the things that I love about you because we don't have time. But Mary is a beautiful human being who doesn't put up with bullshit or drama. She rescued me as she has rescued so many stray foster dogs.
I like the puppies.
And also my face, apparently. Mary's just into rescuing strays. When I went through a really horrible breakup, she's like, I have a guest room. You can just stay there. And then I stayed there for a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. And it was really great. And I feel like my time living with you and Nico really helped me be a better person and grow into. You guys taught me so much, not just about, you know, how to be a better person for myself, but like how to be in a good relationship. And so like I love both of you so much.
Thanks.
You're such a great friend. I kind of want to talk to you. How did you, let's start with like your love story. So Mary, in 2013 was diagnosed with the BRCA2 gene.
That's a good question. I want to say it was 20. Yeah, it was probably 2013. 2012, 2013.
Okay. So that, for some of you that don't know, that's the gene that if you have that gene, you're 85% likely to get breast cancer.
I don't know the exact percentage. And actually, it kind of varies based on your family history.
Okay.
So the way that my family found out was there was obviously a lot of family history. And then my father's cousin contacted the family, and she had breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and had been tested for the gene. And she was positive for BRCA2. So she just let his side of the family know that her mother was a carrier. So that would be my grandmother's sister, that she was a carrier. So everyone on my dad's side of the family got tested, of his brothers and sisters, just to make sure that they weren't also carriers. And my dad happened to be one. So I got tested and I was positive. And it's weird how genes work because my sister was negative. My brother hasn't been tested yet. But he just had a daughter, so he probably will. But yeah, so he got tested, I got tested, and I was positive. And it happened actually at the same time that I had just started dating my now husband.
How long into you guys dating did you find out that this was a thing?
So here, I'll back up a little bit.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
This I think is
because it's cute as fuck.
Yeah,
it's so cute.
So I actually met Nico online. So I was helping a friend. So I don't know if you know this, but a lot of times guys really suck at using dating apps. And I had a friend who I would meet on a weekly basis, and he'd be like, Mary, you need to help me with my dating app because I don't know what to say to these girls to get the conversation rolling, because he was just a clueless dude. So I would help him like formulate what to say to like girls he liked, or be like, no, dude, no, you can't. Don't message this
talk
lady.
To this girl. She's crazy.
So we'd meet once a week for sushi, and I'd help him with that. And then my boyfriend broke up with me at the time, and then I dated someone else. And then anyway, so there was a time where I decided, I'm already on this app to see what it's like as a girl. So I wasn't actually using it myself to date people. I was just like kind of seeing what it was like on the other end to inform how to help him respond to ladies. Yeah. So I feel like that's, market research.
Totally. Because once you get it, like, you don't really understand what it's like to be a female on these apps until you get 1,000 hey messages with nothing else. And then you're like, why am I, what?
Want to see my dick? Or
do you want to see my dick? No? Okay, that's fine. I'll see you later. Okay.
Or lots of dudes doing shirtless selfies.
Please don't do that.
And I was
Please
like,
stop.
No. let's take some good photos of you. And not photos with like other ladies, because then they're like, are you dating that lady? I don't know. So I helped him with his profile, and he started dating someone who he then married. So it worked out.
Alex and Alex.
And they're both.
Oh, wait, I shouldn't say their name.
They're both Alexes. I don't think they'll listen, so it's okay.
Cool. They're really cute.
So I just started using it myself because at the time I wasn't dating anyone, and why not? And I went on a few dates with people, but not all of them really went anywhere. So I was just perusing one day, and this guy from Chicago, I live in Milwaukee, so obviously I was not looking to date someone in Chicago. And this guy had a really well-written profile. If you're a really good writer, if you write yourself a really good profile, it's funny. It like isn't, I don't know. A lot of people write stupid profiles.
Yeah, they do.
So he just, I don't know. It was just really well written, and I was really impressed. So I just messaged this guy to say like, hey, I just want to say thumbs up. Good job. Like, you seem really interesting. You did a really good job of putting yourself out there on this dating app. I know you don't get a lot of messages from women. I would get like 30 messages a day. If I was online, I'd get people like,
it was so overwhelming.
Would come up immediately, like 6 people being like, talk to me right now. Why aren't you talking to me? I know you're there. I can see the little green light. So anyway, so dudes, I mean, from managing my friends, he would get maybe 1 message from a lady every other week. So I just thought, hey, I'll just be nice and message this guy because he did such a nice job on his profile. And then we started talking. And then it turned into like a month later. We were still talking. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this guy. But I'm probably not going to date him because he lives in Chicago. I don't want to drive down there.
Yeah. So it was, you were messaging him very much without like thinking that you would actually date at all.
Like, oh, this is just like a fun person to talk to. But my family lives in Michigan, so obviously I drive around the lake. People who are not from that area.
Yeah, everyone in Los Angeles has no idea how the lake works.
There's a lake, and there's a couple states that border it, so you kind of have to drive around to get to other states. So it's like a couple-hour drive, a drive through Chicago to get to Michigan. And I said to him, oh, I'm driving through. Do you want to like meet in person? We've been talking for an entire month. Like, I'd like to kind of see if you actually match this picture.
Yeah.
So we met up, and I just was like, I really like this guy. I like him. He's a cool person in person. And then I messaged him and was like, hey, I really like you. Can we like get dinner on my way back? And he was like, sure. And so
you were very forward with him. Like, you were just like, I like this one. Let's do it.
I mean, at that time, I was just so done with dating bullshit or playing any sort of game whatsoever. If I liked a person, I was just very straightforward in saying, I like you. I'm putting it out there. You don't like me that way? Cool, let's just be friends. But like, if I did like them, just being really direct and letting them know how I felt about it. Because I just...
Full Mary, no bullshit.
No. Why, people? Why? So we went on that second date, and then I messaged him again, and I was like, do you want to date? Because like, I'm totally down for that. And he was like, no.
Really?
I don't, nah. Like, you live really far away. I've done long distance before. I don't think so. And then I guess I did kind of get into that because I was like, okay, let's just hang out as friends. Okay, cool.
Sure.
Because I knew, like, there's no way. There's no way that we can just be friends at this point, and I just think you don't know it yet.
Yeah.
So I came over a couple other times and hung out, and he wanted to get a little bit frisky, and I was like, that's not what friends do. We can't. Sorry. No, you want to just be friends? No touchy. So he was like, okay, I guess we could try this. We could date. So I just coerced him into it with my body, I guess.
Classic woman.
Yeah. But I knew I liked him. I knew I liked the way that we communicated. And I just wanted to see where it went. And I thought, come on, I'll do the work. I'll drive down. You don't have a car? It's cool. So we ended up dating. Worked out really well.
And he would take the train up. There is a train that goes from Milwaukee to Chicago. So he'd take the train up on weekends sometimes and you guys would hang out.
I had to count. I was like, it's like 14 to 2 that I've come down here and you've gone up there. But he was more busy with work. My work schedule is a lot more flexible. So it just worked out that way. But his family was cool. I liked his family right away. I liked him right away. And then about 2 years later, we got married.
But he proposed after you guys had only dated for like 6 months.
No. So he didn't actually propose. We didn't have like a proposal.
Really?
No. It was not like a traditional.
What happened?
On the knee surprise. I don't know if that's very me. So
it's not. You're very like, I don't want to fuck around with this and let's just talk about it.
So it was like around our 1 year-ish anniversary and we were in Chicago and I was like, hey, you want to go to that like the Logan Square Bar and Grill or something where we went on our first date? And he was like, sure. So we went and we're sitting there and we were just kind of like reminiscing and talking. And I was just like looking at him. He's looking at me. And I think we were both thinking the same thing. We just had that like, I don't know. By then we just had the thing where the other person's thinking. And I just said, do you want to get married? And he was like, yeah, I think we'd be pretty good. And I was like, oh. I think we'd be pretty good too. And then I was like, we should probably talk to my parents and your parents. So that's how that happened.
That's really adorable.
And then that weekend we went to Michigan and then we Skyped my parents and I was like, hey mom, I need to talk to you and dad. Me and Nico need to talk to you. And she kind of thought, was like, what is this? Are you pregnant? What's happening? Very serious conversation. Like, why do I need to talk to both of you via Skype? And my dad was mowing the lawn. So she was like, hey, can you come here? We're talking to Mary. And he just like kind of walked in and wasn't wearing a shirt and super sweaty.
Classic dad.
And so we're just like, yeah, so we think we're going to get married. And we just wanted to like, make sure you guys are cool with that. We're kind of being a little traditional about this that way. And my dad was like, oh shit. And you're like, it's like, where's my shirt? I need to put a shirt on. This is a serious conversation. So my mom cried. Everyone cried. It was all good.
That's really sweet.
But I guess going back to the BRCA2 thing, so I kind of found out a couple months after we had started dating that I was a carrier for this gene. I don't think I was expecting to have it. Because when you get tested, you're like, nah, I'm probably not. I don't know. You just
it's like a 50-50 chance.
It is. It's a 50-50 chance, but I just didn't think that I would have it. So when I found out, I was a little bit. I was pretty devastated, and it's
really scary.
I think it was more scary because I had just started dating Nico, and that just seemed like a big wrench to throw into our relationship because of all of the extras that come with being a gene carrier. So to go back and explain what it means to be a BRCA2 gene carrier, everyone has BRCA2 genes. You have 2 of them,
mm-hmm.
and your genes kind of work together, and they like, that's how your body replicates. So there's like genes that help your body replicate correctly. So when you make a new cell, it's like, oh yeah, this is messed up. Oh, it's okay. We'll fix it. So if you have gene mutation, then you usually only have 1 backup instead of 2 backups.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one little ninja who's like fighting off bad things instead of 2 ninjas.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you're going to win better with 2 ninjas. So, so that's what it means to be a gene mutation carrier. You have the gene, but yours is damaged. So, where was I going with this? So, when I found out, I met with a genetic counselor, and they kind of recommend, hey, here's some things that you need to do in order to monitor yourself to make sure that you're protecting yourself from getting cancers early. So it increases your risk, like you said. My risk, based on my family history, was like over 90% chance that I would get cancer before I was 45. My grandmother died of breast cancer related stuff in her late 40s, early 50s.
Because she had breast cancer, fought it, and then got it a second time, correct?
So back then, like, breast cancer surgery was kind of like really Frankenstein. It was like, let's just chop and go and big stitches, and it wasn't very pretty. But obviously today, things are a lot better. So with monitoring for that kind of stuff, they recommend that you have MRIs regularly. They recommend that you have mammograms regularly. And they also recommend that you see like a breast oncologist or a breast specialist so that they're like doing manual stuff. You have to feel for yourself. I mean, if you're a female and you're out there, you should definitely check your boobs once a month.
Touch your boobs.
Touch your boobs.
It's fun.
Lots. Just do them. Or have your significant other touch your boobs. I know I've met some people online who have caught their breast cancer because their significant other actually found it. So, and they were young people. They were like late 20s, early 30s. And they thought like, what the heck is this? But then it ended up being cancer. So you never know. Check your boobs. So I see all these specialists. I get a vaginal ultrasound, which is a fun time. It's like
I've actually had one of those.
Getting wanded with
It's a lot,
dildo that they just kind of shove up there that has a sensor on it. So I get one of those every year because it increases your risk of ovarian cancer as well. You have to get extra blood tests. There's just a lot of extra screening that goes along with this. It's really stressful.
Intensive. Yeah.
It's really stressful. And the waiting is really stressful. So, and then you sit down with your doctor and they're kind of like, you need to make a plan. When are you getting your boobs cut off? When are you getting your ovaries removed? You need to do this within certain time limits so that you kind of sit down and plan that out. Like, when are you going to have babies? Are you going to have babies? It's like stuff you have to think about right away. Don't necessarily have like your whole life to think about it.
And you're like 3 months into dating some new guy. And you're like, hey, no big deal. But I got to get my boobs cut off and my ovaries removed. So what do you think about kids? We're 3 months. That's fine. Let's just talk about it now. That'd be great.
Yeah. So my boyfriend or husband at the time, the sweetheart that he was, just looked at me and he was like, it's fine. You'll just get a boob job. It's cool. I don't think that he realized the gravity of what he was agreeing to at the time and the fact that it's really not a boob job. And if you ever say that to a mastectomy patient, just don't. Just don't. It's really
so
different. It's really different, and it's
because
really...
you're not just getting inserts, you're getting replacements.
Mm-hmm.
So like when someone gets a boob job, they're getting a little bit of an insert to give it their boob a little bit lift, but a lot of the natural tissue remains. But when you get your mastectomy, they're essentially removing all of your breast tissue and replacing it with an insert.
It's like an amputation. Like if you wouldn't go to someone and be like, oh, cool, it's cool. Just cut off your arm. You'll just get a new robotic arm. It's cool. Like you don't know.
Unless you're Hannibal Buress, but that's fine.
I mean, it's not the same. So, I mean, that was his reaction. He was just like, it's fine. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Like, I like you. I mean, it doesn't change anything about our relationship. It'll happen. It'll be fine. So, I mean, that's how that went. And then a couple months later, I had my first, I guess, panic attack / scare. Because I went in for like my first round of MRIs and mammograms, and I'm sitting at work and I get this phone call and I answer it, and this lady's like, hey, I'm calling to schedule your breast biopsy. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you have this thing in your breast that looks not good, so we want to check it out. And I was like, wait, what? And she was like, wait, no one called you to explain or like talk to you about this yet? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, okay, let me back. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like she felt
and you're
so
just like
bad.
freaking out. You're like, what's wrong with my boobs?
So yeah, needless to say, I scheduled it and then I hung up the phone and I cried, and it was bad. And my coworker was like, what's going on? I was like, I can't handle this. So, I scheduled that, and I think that happened on like Valentine's Day, and I was freaking out, and
They called you on Valentine's Day to schedule your breast biopsy?
I mean, they didn't. I don't know.
What a bunch of assholes.
I don't know. But so I called Nico and I was freaking out a little bit. And he's like, it's fine. It'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it. Well, you'll be okay. And he surprised me by showing up at my door with flowers. He took the train and he walked all the way from the train station, which is a long way. I want to say it's like
a 15-minute drive. 10-minute
to the airport one. It's like a 5-minute drive, but if you're speeding, so maybe I think it took him like 45 minutes to an hour to walk.
So much snow.
So he showed up and I just cried a lot, and it was fine. So it was fine. Like, I went for my biopsy. The guy with the giant needle looked at my boobies and was like, "Yeah, I don't usually do biopsies on people who are this young. This is probably you're probably going to be really sensitive. This is really going to hurt." And I was like, "Dude, why did you just say that to me?" Like, keep those thoughts in your head. You're a doctor. Like,
just tell me it's going to be okay.
Yeah. So, numbed me up, stuck a big thing that pulled out tissue. It ended up being non-malignant, or it was just like a weird blip. They stick a chip inside to mark it. And I was good to go. And I didn't have any significant MRIs or mammograms after that. So it was okay. But just every time that you have one, there's this waiting period. And I think a lot of women's care hospitals or people who do this are really getting good about not making people wait a really long time now, which is nice. But I don't know. It was just still super stressful. So I
scary.
Just decided, I just want to get them off before I'm 30. And the recommendation for me was before 35. But I just was like, no, if I decide to have kids, because I don't know if I'm going to have kids, like, I want to have it done before I have kids. Because there's this waiting period where you can't lift things. And I'm like, if I have a kid, I want to be able to like pick them up and like do stuff. That would just be really hard. I had a lot of friends not a lot of friends. I had a couple of friends who have had kids. So I just knew it'd be difficult. So I didn't want to do that. And then, so that kind of was what informed my choice. And then Nico and I got married. We just lived a happy life for a couple of years. And then about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, actually. It'll be 2 years in September. So September 2016, I went in for my double mastectomy. It was a lot of planning. It was a lot of like mental preparation, physical preparation. I wanted to make sure that I was like physically fit and mentally fit.
You had to gain some weight a little bit on purpose? I had to gain some
weight. My plastic surgeon kind of looked at me and was like, you don't have a lot of tissue to work with. And it's kind of like the more tissue that they have to play with, the easier.
In terms of fat tissue?
Just fat tissue, skin tissue. The more tissue there is to play with, the more you can do. Mm-hmm. And the easier it is for them. And at the time, Andrea and I had been going to like a lot of yoga classes and pole dancing classes. We were both kind of ripped.
When I moved out to LA, I was ripped. And then I got kind of chunky after, but it's fine. I drink that boba tea every day.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Lots of sugar. It's delicious.
It's so good. But I kind of remember part of the reason that I even chose to move out here when I did is you guys were like, okay, baby bird, you've been in this nest for a while. I'm about to have a major reconstructive surgery. And I was kind of at a point where, for me, I was kind of like, if I'm going to leave Milwaukee, I kind of need to do it. Yeah. This is like a good time for me to do it. I was able to save a lot of money because I was living with you guys. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of ready to leave. And so I started looking for jobs here, and I found a job, and it all kind of worked out. But a lot of that had to do with like you just being like, hey, I need this space back. You are welcome to stay here for a long time, but get the fuck out.
Jump out of the nest. Throw you to the LA Wolves.
You nursed my broken wings. And you're like, you can fly now. I'm like, but can I? You're like, you've been able to, you're fine.
I mean, you were fine the whole time. But
fine.
You just didn't know it.
I know.
So
You made it so much better. Mary's great at nursing injured animals.
I like making cute lunches.
Mary's the
puppies. Andrea's got a cute face.
Mary's the first person in my entire adult life that ever packed me a lunch. And I'm forever grateful to her for it.
I was unemployed. I had nothing to do.
It was really
fun.
But yeah, so you had all this preparation. And I kind of remember when I was there of you going through some of that. And then after I left, I felt so bad being gone. Oh. Because I was like, when you had your surgery, I was like, oh, if I'd stayed in Milwaukee, like I could at least come by and like make you dinner and like help. And like I felt, because you and Nico had helped me so much when I was recovering from a hard time, that I felt...
You're going to make me cry.
I felt so bad that I wasn't there for you.
You sent me really good care packages. Like every time I was having a really shit day, I was like, God, this day sucks. And then I'd get a package in the mail and be like, oh my God, how did she know? So... It was good. Don't make me cry. Let's not cry. It's not a crying podcast.
But I love crying. I'm so good at it.
So yeah, we did a lot of work together to kind of create a good space and a good time for it to happen. And I had even prepped like the people I worked with to let them know this was going on.
Right.
So
and
that
get them all prepared.
They weren't like, oh, I'm going for a major surgery. And then like, what happened to your boobs? They're gone. And then, oh my God, your boobs are so big. And then like, oh wait, they're gone again. Like, wait, what's happening? So I think I live my life like this at this point. I just believe that you should be transparent with people. People you work with.
It makes everything so much easier.
People you have relationships with, your friends, like just cut the bullshit. Just tell them how you feel. Tell them what you're going through. Give them that perspective, because people can't be empathetic towards you if they don't understand what's going on. And then they just get pissed and then they're like, what the fuck's wrong with you? So I wanted to create that in my workplace. I wanted to create that with my friends because I knew I wasn't going to be hanging out with people for a while. Like I essentially retreated kind of into a habit hovel.
Well, and you didn't, I mean, even if people wanted to come see you, you just didn't have a lot of energy. And it was more like you just weren't up for the energy of social interaction. Yeah. You know? And that, I think like that can feel very isolating too. Mm-hmm. And you had some really amazing people helping you out.
I did. I had a family who, was like the awesomest family. Their kids took art classes with me when I was an art teacher. And they brought me meals like once or twice a week. I mean, I had people who I did yoga teacher training with bringing me meals. I had friends bringing me meals, people running errands for us. You know, there was once that my phone charger broke and I didn't have another one. And Nico was like, I can't leave you alone because I had just had surgery. And so we had some friends who came over and they just sat with me while he went to the store to pick that up because he didn't want to leave me alone. So just, yeah, I had like a good outpouring of people who were there to support me. But I think at the same time, people don't always know, especially with surgeries like this, like how long they're supposed to take.
And how long they take to recover. And
how
also
long
like
it takes to recover,
what you need at each stage.
Yes.
Because like the weird thing about help is sometimes people make help about them.
Yeah.
And it can be really difficult to just be like, I'm just going to give you this thing and then I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Because I know that this is going to be too much for you. And that me like asking for your time is just as much work as if I didn't come at all.
Yeah. Like I had some of my former art students who would just like, I mean, they were in high school at this point, and they came over and just watched movies with me. And like, I just slept because I was on painkillers and muscle relaxants. I just like half watched it with my mouth hanging open. I think I was drooling and they were like, it's cool. And then they just sat and like petted my dogs and just having the presence of those people there was just really meaningful to me. But so like, you know, that's during your surgeries, like a couple weeks after your surgeries, and then you start going back to work, you start doing normal things again. And I don't think people understand that it's still a process. Like you're still learning how to acclimate to your new body. You're learning to deal with a part of your body being missing. like accepting a new part of your body, and then all like the physical therapy, the, you know, seeing a therapist to make sure that I was not having panic attacks, like the hormone changes. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'm continuing to go through even almost 2 years out, related to that surgery. And like as a person, you don't necessarily want to just be like, woe is me, like everything still sucks, like, you know, this hurts, that hurts, I'm still like crying every other day. You know, a year later, people are like, wait, what? I thought you had that a year ago.
Yeah,
you know?
people want you to kind of get over the trauma of having your boobs removed.
Yeah. So, you know, I started to kind of guard my conversations more, of like what I wanted to put out there or like spill on people, because you don't want to, like, I mean, in your daily lives, you don't want to just like dump everything on every person. That's why I would recommend everyone see a therapist, because therapy is great. You can dump as much as you want. You're paying them. It's their job. So yeah, I saw a therapist who specifically had done her, I don't know, what do they do when they do therapy?
Thesis?
Like her thesis or residency or whatever,
Yeah.
with patients who had gone through mastectomy. So she was really understanding. I would say if you haven't met a therapist you like, it's because you haven't met the right therapist yet. So just keep, you know, cycling through them till you find one you like.
How did this surgery change? Because it changed your relationship with your own body a lot.
Yeah.
How did it also change your relationship with Nico?
So I really don't think that he knew how awful it was going to be. Like staying up at night, seeing someone that you care about in pain for a really long time, and not sleeping. I mean, he's a dude who kind of needs like 9 to 12 hours of sleep a night.
He's also had concussions, and that kind of like complicates.
He was hit by he was on a motorcycle and hit by a car at one point. So he had a traumatic brain injury, and he needs sleep. And so he kind of learned to adapt to waking up every couple hours to give me pain medication. And he really kind of just had to turn into a caregiver. 24/7 caregiver. He made my food. He wiped my ass. I couldn't reach my own butt to wipe off the poop. Just like every single thing that you can normally do for yourself because you have arms that can reach things, someone else has to do for you.
And this is 2 years into your relationship, right?
I mean, no. This is for like the first. So we had been together for, when I had the surgery, 4 years we'd been together.
Okay.
We'd been married for 2.
Okay.
So I mean, we're so open with each other that it wasn't really that big of a deal. But me being the super Asian anal OCD person that I am, it was hard for me to let go of things like the house had to be clean and like things had to be done a certain way or they weren't done right. And so there was a change in my relationship with him where I just had to kind of give everything and just let it be. And then he just had to kind of meet me halfway so that I didn't have a panic attack. But then also do everything. And it's a lot of work. I mean, he's working like 45 hours a week. He's an architect. And then he would come home and essentially work all afternoon, all night.
To take care of you and make food and get things ready for you and all that stuff.
So even like a couple months after my surgery, like he would have to make all the dinners. I couldn't even lift like a pan to make eggs. I couldn't lift the pan out of the cupboard to put it on the stove, that kind of stuff. So I couldn't adjust my driver mirror. So if he used the car, because we shared a car, we'd have to go, I'd sit in the car and he would adjust it until I could see where I was going out of all of the mirrors. Because I could drive, but I couldn't reach to adjust the mirror. So just the surgery kind of dictated every single thing that we did always, which is a struggle. It's a struggle because he had to change his relationship with his friends. There'd be people who would message him and be like, hey, dude, where are you? What have you been doing? It's like, and he'd be like, oh, I'm like taking care of Mary. Like she's going through stuff. And they're like, oh, like I thought she had that surgery like, like 8 months ago. Like what? And he'd explain. I mean, he's just transparent with his friends too. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. But it's not something that people normally think about. So,
well, and I think there's this thing where people, because they're not with you every day and they don't understand your struggle, they're like, she's being dramatic, and you're like, no, I really can't lift my fucking arms. Like, I'm so sorry.
Sucks. No, and it wasn't always that I couldn't lift my arms. My plastic surgeon wanted me to build specific scar tissue to hold the implant in, because I had a type of implant that kind of looks like a pear shape, and it's weighted. So the bottom is heavier and the top is thinner. So it looks like a real boob. It's not just like these two orbs that they're just sticking to your body.
Yeah.
It's actual boob shape. So he wanted scar tissue to form on these like tissue pockets that they put on,
so that they wouldn't rip out,
so that they wouldn't rotate. Because if they rotate, then he has to go back in and fix them and redo the surgery.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to build up scar tissue so that they would just be like stuck there forever. So I wasn't allowed to lift my arms above 90 degrees for 8 weeks after my second surgery. So it was a 2-surgery deal. The first one, they take off all the tissue, and then they put expanders inside to slowly expand the area that's damaged because you just took everything out. And then the second surgery is putting the implants in once you've slowly expanded the tissue and kind of grown and healed some of that skin, because obviously you don't want to like shove a bunch of big stuff in there if the tissue is damaged or if it's delicate. So yeah, it's like a 2-part process. That's why I'm 2 years out. I'm only, a year, almost a year out from my exchange surgery. So yeah, it's just a really long process, and it really did change my relationship with Nico, because I was used to being a really independent person, do my own stuff, clean my own house. I don't expect people to do things for me. And I fought it at first. At first, I was kind of like, I can do it. But it's not helpful. It's not helpful for healing. And that's kind of what I realized, was that the more I do, the more swollen I get, the slower my healing is. So I just need to like let it go.
Yeah.
And then you kind of sit there and you're like, oh, this is kind of nice. This is kind of nice. I just sit here in this spot and food comes to me and it looks beautiful. Like, my husband makes super good food.
He's a really good cook. Big fan.
He always makes it look nice too. I'm like, this is like 5-star restaurant, and I just sit in a chair all day. Like, I don't have to do anything. He was taking care of the dogs. He was taking care of the house. He was cleaning the house. He was doing everything. And it was kind of nice. I didn't have to do anything. And then you start to we had this shift in dynamic where he started getting used to packing my lunch every day. Like, he would wake up, get stuff ready for me, even sometimes change his schedule so that he could help me put on clothing, because I couldn't zip things, couldn't reach things. So I would have to say to him, like, no. Like, I'm ready for this next step. I'm like ready to move on to doing this by myself. You don't need to help me anymore. And he'd be like, oh. So there was kind of a lot of communication that had to happen with that. And then a lot of trust, because he had to trust that I wasn't pushing it, because he also knew that I tended to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a big change, a lot of give and take, and a lot of me just trying to get back to being an independent person, but also kind of being in love with having someone give. Because I think I was more of a giver before I had surgery. I was kind of uncomfortable with like receiving.
I think in some of your past relationships, like, because I've known you for a long time, and I've known people that you dated before Nico, and I think in some of your past relationships, I was like, what is this person giving to Mary at all? You know what I mean? Like, I would look at some of the people you dated, and I was like, Mary's like a 10. This dude's like a 5. Like, what's happening here? Like, you do everything. You take care of everything. You make all the, you are such an independent person. And even when I lived with you guys, I think that you and Nico had been living together for a little bit of time. And you still were very much just kind of like, no, I'll just do it. Look, I can do this. I can do that. And like, you know, you definitely shared responsibilities, but like you definitely had like certain things. And I think that when I moved in there too, when I kind of moved into your space, like you were something I really appreciate about living with you guys is I'd never lived with a roommate that would just be like, hey, can you clean this? You know, if I was dirty or if I was messy or if I wasn't aware of what I was doing, like you communicate really well and you're very upfront about that.
Why hold that inside?
It's so great.
Why be passive aggressive?
Nice.
I hate that.
People are like, oh, you should read my mind. Mary's not like that. She's like, I was just going to tell you.
You don't know that your hair is getting all stuck in the vacuum and you need to get it out because you're ruining my life.
So much hair. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But it's, I mean, like, for you to totally give up control, like that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and then I think that like seeing you and Nico together was really beautiful and like really great. But like, I think, I don't know, you told me yesterday, I don't know if you want to say it again here, but like how, like I asked you yesterday and you were like, oh, I love Nico more than I did when I married him.
I do. And something about going through something that traumatic with someone, I'm going to cry now. Something about going through something that traumatic with someone and then having them be there for you on that level is more love than I'd ever experienced, ever. I'm going to cry.
I love you so much.
So, and like, I don't even know if you know that you can love someone that much until you go through something hard. And it was scary because I knew that our dynamic was going to change, but I didn't know if it would change for good or if it would change for not good.
Yeah.
But I think knowing that Nico and I were so good together before the surgery and that we complemented each other well, like the reason why I picked him, the reason why I was like, yes, we've only been dating for like a year, but like I know it's just because, you know, our communication was really good. And like I didn't have this feeling like I needed to do things for him because he was his own person. Yeah. So I felt like I can do things for you because I love you and because I want to.
You don't feel
I don't
need
to.
Yeah.
So he didn't need me to. I mean, there's like little things that, you know, I think people compliment one another. Like I was a little bit more neurotic. He was a little bit more calm about certain things. And then, you know, opposite when we're traveling, I'm really calm and he gets like, I'm going to kill this person because they told us the wrong bus. And I'm like, no, dude, like just calm down. It's cool. So in that way we complement one another, but I think we were just really solidly our own people. And he really knows who he is. And I think he always has. Like he's very confident in himself. He's very comfortable with his body, his likes, his dislikes, like being a nerd. Like liking Lord of the Rings online. He'll just like tell you straight out, I love Lord of the Rings online. I like playing Elder Scrolls.
You have no idea how many Magic card decks I have had explained to me.
I don't even know why you listen to him. Because I sit there and
Magic
be like,
card art. It's really pretty. And I was like, okay, we'll hang out.
Some of that's pretty cool.
I like Nico.
He's asked me
He would show me all his video games
a ton of
and
times.
stuff.
Do you want to play this with me? I'm like, no. Sorry. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't. I really don't. I'll like watch him play the Lord of the Rings online sometimes because I'm like, oh, that's kind of pretty, but
it's really beautiful game.
No,
and he gets really excited about his characters.
Really he likes playing all the ladies.
Yeah, so it's really funny.
He's like, I want to be a lady because they get all the cool outfits. And so he makes these characters that look really cool. He made this one, and I don't know if it's Lord of the Rings online or not, but she looks like a medieval Carmen Sandiego.
I've seen it, and
he's
yes,
so proud of it.
It's really
he's
cool.
So proud of it.
He has a great sword collection. He dresses up very well.
Sold most of his sword collection while I was going through that surgery. He's like, I got to clean this house out, and he got rid of it.
What?
Yeah,
he loves you, Mary.
No, he sold his. Oh, what are those called? They're not Warmahordes. they're these little pewter figurines that people play this game and you like paint them.
Yeah.
And it's like a big thing. And he had like massive collections of them that he had hand painted when he was like in high school and middle school, and probably a couple $100. When I quit my job, he sold them so that we could like be financially okay. He sold his nerdy collection of little figurines. Like, oh.
But I think like the important thing here, and the thing that I think is really cool, like it's not like you asked him to do that.
No,
it's not
didn't.
like you pressured him
not
to
at
do
all.
That. No,
I'm cool with him having weird shit. Like have all the weird shit you want, and like I'm cool with him wearing whatever the hell he wants, dressing that however the hell he wants. Like he's really comfortable with his body. He like did dance for a really long time, like ballroom dance, like tango. He's just always been really comfortable with himself, and I think he really worked hard on that through high school and college to just be like, no, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, and I don't care.
But you've never asked Nico to be anyone except for Nico.
Oh, because I just like how he is.
You love him, yeah. And he's never asked you to be anyone but who you are, and he's never made you feel bad about any of your limitations or any of the things that happen. So I think that's a really important part of your guys' relationship.
Yeah. If we fight about something, it's usually because someone's really hungry. Or tired. But usually it's because someone's really hungry. And I think there was one time that we had a fight and he felt like, and it was because he felt like I was trying to, he said like, I feel like you are trying to, or not respecting the person that I am. Like you're trying to make me feel like I should be something else. And he was right. And in the moment I was just like, you know what? You're right. I shouldn't have said that. And that was it. And he like went outside and stood in the cold. He'll laugh if he hears this. He stood outside for maybe 5 minutes. I looked at my phone. It was 5 minutes. And he came back and he was like, I was outside for an hour and you didn't even notice. And I was like, honey, it was 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That was it.
He was just
like
upset.
It felt like forever. So, anyways, that was like the one big fight that we've ever had, and that was it. But otherwise, someone's hungry, someone's tired. Those are the two main things. And then we'll say to each other like, are you tired? Do you need to go take a nap? Like, I will let you have your space. Like, are you hungry? Let me make you some food.
Yeah.
Like, just be
and then we
thoughtful.
can talk about this thing. Like, if you're really feeling bad because of this thing I said, or if you're really feeling bad about our relationship, we can talk about that. But let's solve the other things that might be making you feel bad.
Yeah. And that was a little bit hard for me at first when we'd have like debates, I guess, with each other, or they'd have something that I really felt strongly I wanted to talk about. I'm a late night person. He's not. And so I'd want to stay up late and talk to him about this and be like, I want to talk to you about this. And he'd be falling asleep.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I can't talk about this. I'd get frustrated because I'm like,
but I want to talk about this so I can fall asleep.
So we kind of had to, he started doing this thing where he'd be like 8 o'clock. He'd be like, honey, is there anything that we need to like talk about right now? So that you're not telling me stuff at like 10:30 so I can go to bed at a normal time for an adult. So, you know, just changing stuff like that. But yeah, so this surgery, I would say, changed the dynamic of our relationship. I became really dependent on him, almost in a codependent way where I just had someone doing everything for me, and I needed that and I wanted that. And so it was switching from having that mindset as I healed to being like, no, I can do this for myself. So I would find myself even sitting on the couch watching TV and then being like, hey, Nico, can you give me some water? And then being like, wait a second, I can go get my own fucking water. Yeah. Like, what am I doing? And sometimes it's funny because I'll just sit there and I'll like ask him to do it anyway because I know he doesn't now. So it's like when people are needy or like codependent with other people, I totally understand now because it's nice. It's nice to have someone bring you a sandwich or just like make you things and not have to move. Or just, I don't know. It's just nice to have someone do stuff for you. So,
but I think that is something that is like new to you, but also is reciprocated. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like in your relationship, when I lived with you guys, it wasn't like one of you did everything.
No.
You know, and it wasn't like that at all. And I'm sure that it's more now again, more equal again.
Yeah. It's closer. Like, he never, ever, ever cleans the bathroom. I'm the only one who ever does that. But we just have our things, I think, that we do.
He definitely shovels the sidewalks more. Are you doing that?
I started doing that. I kind of started doing that just to see how much I could do without hurting myself. It's been kind of an experiment of a lot of stuff like that. Or like mowing the lawn. I started doing that a lot, and I wasn't doing that before.
Yeah.
Just whatever. And I would say, as far as like male, female, traditional, like, oh, you do the cooking, cleaning, we've never had anything like that. It was just like, oh, I want to do this, and you like this more clean, and I like this more clean, so we'll just kind of pick our stuff organically. Yeah. So our relationship definitely changed, but the thing that I guess I realized through this is that no matter what, so I have like a lot of people that I've heard or talked to who are like dating or in relationships, and they talk about like, oh, well, you know, this person is like really needy, so like I can't date them, or like they are going through a really hard time, so like we didn't date. And I think part of it, meeting someone and finding someone, is good timing. Like, if you both feel solid in who you are and what you're doing, great. And then you find each other, and then it works out, and it's great. But what I would say to people who are in relationships is, don't expect that that's going to be forever, because it's not. Like, people are going to change, relationships are going to change, and there's always going to be a moment where someone needs the other person more. You can't expect that to never happen. So you have to care about a person enough to say, I can tell you need me right now. I don't know how long that's going to be, but I'm here for you. And I'm here for you until you don't need me anymore. Don't look at me like that.
Cry. I love you so much.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think sometimes people are in a relationship and they're like, it just got too hard because the other person needed me too much.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen. I mean, people who are married for, 20, 30, 40 years, I'm sure they've gone through that a bunch of times. People say this all the time. The only thing that's constant is change, and people are going to change, and you're not always going to be solid in who you are. You're not always going to know who you are or what you want to do.
Yeah. I
would say right now I'm going through a 30 life crisis. I'm 31. And I don't know what I want to do with my job right now. I'm still recovering from surgery. I'm still accepting my body. So I'm not in that same solid place with myself that I was before we got married or when we started our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have someone who acknowledges who I am, where I've come from, and the fact that I still have all of those qualities, but I don't necessarily have a direction or know what I'm doing. I might have a lot of worse days than I have good days.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cool with that. And that's why I love him like more than I knew that I could, because he's there for me in that way. So, yeah.
That's really beautiful, Mary. That's a really good story. Do you want to, I don't know. I don't have any really questions. I mean, like, that's just a really beautiful story. And I think I know so much about you that, tell people the Instagram that you started.
Yeah. So I basically started a separate Instagram because I want to like have these conversations about, what people are going through, what's happening. But like I said, people get sick of hearing that stuff sucks. And sometimes stuff just kind of sucks. That's real life. Real life is not Instagram where people are curating photos and being like, every day's great. I'm so positive. My life's so great. Blah. Look at my dog. Look at my life. Look at my hair. Look at my makeup. Like, that's not real life. So real life is that stuff sucks. sometimes, and sometimes it sucks for a long time. So I started a Instagram. You can find it at Kint Sugi Creature. So it's KINTSUGI Creature. And it's just about kind of my boob journey. If you are someone who is identified with a gene, or you have a strong family history of it and you want to know more about what to do, you could reach out to me. But I would also say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a genetic counselor. Genetic counseling is the person that you want to go see first if you suspect something's going on. But if you want to know more, someone who is going through this, you can send them to me. I'll talk to them about it. There's a really huge online presence of Instagram people who are going through stuff like this. And I didn't know that at the beginning of my journey, and I don't know that it was there, but it's become pretty popular. There's a lot of people who are out there to support you, who are going through it at the same time, and they kind of just compare notes with one another. So you kind of have more of an idea of what to expect. So yeah, you can follow me. You can follow a couple other people that I follow. You can look at my list, but there's a really good network of people out there. Yeah,
it's a really good. I found because you started it and I started following it, and then the stuff will come up. I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Not only are your photos beautiful, but then you've written, everything you write is incredibly poetic. And I think what I love about it is when I read it, because all of the feelings that you have about it are so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, this is kind of better and it could have been worse, but I still feel like this or I still feel like that. And you really do a good job of kind of sussing your feelings out and telling a story and kind of being like, well, this happened and this is how I felt about it. And you're not always going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Is you had these things that you expected, and then you had all these things that kind of like not went wrong, but just like were beyond your expectations and beyond your understanding. Mm-hmm. And so I think talking about that and also being really honest with allowing yourself to feel the feelings that you felt instead of feeling guilty about them or anything like that was just, for me, I was like, oh my God, my friend is so strong. Like, she's such a fucking badass.
But I'm not. It's just, you just deal with shit as it comes at you.
Oh, totally.
And sometimes you cry and fall on the floor right before you need to leave to go to a work meeting, and your husband just looks at you and he's like, oh God. And then you're just like, I'm fine. And you run out the door, and then you come home and the entire house is clean, and you're like, what? And he's like, I just felt really bad. Oh. You're having a hard time. So, I mean, sometimes life's just hard and you just have to deal with it, and sometimes you don't deal with it well, but that's what I'm kind of trying to put out there, is that even with breast cancer stuff or anything cancer related, people are like, women empowerment, like, you're fearless, you're strong, you're brave. Sometimes you're fucking not. Sometimes you're scared. Sometimes you just are a giant mess, and that's okay. So that's what I'm kind of trying to put out there on Instagram. There's a lot of other cool people out there who are kind of putting out that same thing, but I think we need more of that on social media, so that people don't want to kill themselves. For real, though. So you can follow me on that. I also have like a yoga-y Instagram. Was a yoga instructor. I don't really put stuff out there as much on my normal page. So if you're looking up Mary Sugiyama and you're like, oh, there's another one, and it's lots of yoga photos if you want to look at yoga. But there's a lot of shit like that out there on Instagram.
So much yoga.
No one needs more of that. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Mary. Hey guys, if you like this podcast, email us at andrealoveseverybody@gmail.com. What we're going to start doing in upcoming weeks is, if you guys email us a question that you have about your relationship, we're going to start talking to the guests about it. So email us at andrealoveseverybody@gmail.com, or message me on Instagram or whatever, and I'll collect all the messages. You can follow me on Instagram at sundresscomic, Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow the podcast at Andrea Loves Everybody on Instagram and at Andrea Loves Pod on Twitter. And thank you guys so much for listening. I love you. Bye.